Okay, everybody, welcome to this very unusual episode where we get to connect back to our two student leaders from the graduate class of 2024, Marisa and Louisa. And you are both in your respective countries, Marisa in Canada, like I'm right there, and Louisa in London. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having us.
Hi. Good morning.
Good. Okay, so let's start, Marisa. Remind our listeners where you are and the course that you're studying.
Okay, so basically I'm in Montreal, Quebec. This is in the eastward part of Canada, really close to the Arctic Circle. It's freezing. I'm currently pursuing a double major in political science and economics. And basically every semester we just pick our courses related to our respective subject, and it's currently really interesting. There's a lot of math going on, which I did not sign up for, and I am not particularly happy with. But I'm assuming that after this semester, I'm gonna be done with it and I'm never gonna have to see it again. But this is just me hoping.
Yeah, who would have thought there'd be math in there, right?
This is like they hate
Wow.
me. Somebody hates me, and this is their way of getting payback.
Fair enough. Trying to just calm that energy down a bit that you're giving out. Maybe that's what it is. Let's cool it down. Throw some maths her way.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. And Louisa, what are you studying and where are you?
So I'm currently in London, in the UK, in the capital. I'm at King's College London, and I'm studying international relations. Now, the system here is different to the Canadian one, from what I understand. I have four set modules that I do throughout the year. So it's political theory, international economics, history of the political system, and we also do diplomacy. And
Mm,
I do all these modules from September to May, so I don't get to choose or change throughout the year. Um,
okay.
but I do find them very interesting. The only math I have is in economics, thank goodness.
Put
Um,
away lightly then.
yeah, but I mean, the course is really interesting, and I'm enjoying both the university and the people here. And London as a city is great. It has so many opportunities. It's a huge city, and I'm loving it. It's so nice.
Amazing. I was doing the research for this interview today, and I went to have a look at your both of your LinkedIn profiles to see what you were up to. My goodness me, you've exhausted me just reading it. How do you even have time to do anything else? Your accomplishments. I mean, it's fantastic for both of your careers, that you document your accomplishments as they go through, right? But wow,
Yeah.
I mean, high level, right, Marissa? Crisis staffer for Secondary School United Nations Symposium, right? I was like, okay, I don't quite understand what that is, but okay, looks really good. Then vice chair and delegate for the McGill's Model United Nations Assembly, staff writer for the Bull and Bear, which is the McGill student news magazine, and a tutor, right?
Yeah. So basically, because I came here really nervous. I mean, I'm very sociable and I'm very easy to talk to and make friends with, but I was really nervous because I wasn't gonna be staying in the dorms. Because my situation is quite particular. Like I'm a Canadian citizen, but I'm also like I also have an apartment here, so it was really weird. And I wasn't gonna be in the dorm, so I was like, oh, I need to go the extra mile to make friends.
Right.
And like I researched what I wanted to do when I got here in terms of like what I was already capable and familiar with, like the McGill delegation team, which
Mm,
is essentially a competitive Model UN team. They send you to conferences, they rank you, you get points for the school, you get points for yourself. It's really competitive.
okay.
Um, and it's something I was like used to doing back in school when I competed in Model UN here, just on a very different scale. So I was like, oh, let me just try this out and we'll see. They
Right.
don't normally take first years, but I'll shoot my shot. Anyway,
Of course you did, knowing
I
you.
was
Of
like,
course you did.
they asked me, do you have any Model UN experience? I'm like, yeah, a little bit. Like I did Model UN in high school. And they were like, okay, anyway. And then they put me in a tryout and it was fine. So because of that, you're kind of contractually obliged to staff McGill's host conference, the one that we're hosting and not allowed to compete in, and
Right.
the one that they host for the secondary schools, which is what we used to compete in.
Right.
Um, and I expanded my network in that way, and I found it really interesting also like in personal development. But at the same time, I find like competitive debating has always been my thing, and I really enjoy it.
Right.
So I felt that if I had another way to get involved in the community, it would be great.
Mm.
Um, I feel like, as Louisa said, she really likes the people. It's the same here for me because I feel that they have a very different mindset. Like, I don't know, all my friends do all that. They go to school
Right.
and they also hold down like one or maybe two jobs. So I was like, oh,
Wow.
I must be able to do that. So I got a job and I was like, well, that sounds good. But there are a lot more things coming up like this month. And then in August, I have a lot of stuff lined up for next year as well that I'm about to kick off. Yeah, stay tuned for those updates because that's gonna be a lot.
All right, that's going to exhaust me too. That's incredible. Yeah, the energy it's fantastic. I'm not surprised, like I said, but yeah, the energy is fantastic. And it's a great strategy of making friends, like you say, find people that do what you want to do. And that's the best way to connect, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
and so Louisa, meeting the ex-president, right?
Yeah,
Holland. Holland, is that how you pronounce it
yeah.
correctly?
I think it's Holland without the
Oh,
H.
yeah, yeah, that's it. There's no H, right? So that must have been an incredible opportunity with the KCL Sciences Pro alumni. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, King's College London and Sciences Po have a sort of cooperation. They do a joint dual masters together. So we have
Okay.
a lot of Sciences Po students at King's and lots of King's students going to Sciences Po. So their alumni network, they have a London base as well. Because lots of them basically transferred to King's and they stayed here afterwards. So they collaborated as a French origin university to bring Mr. Francois Hollande here, and generally King's College, under their politics and international relations departments, they host a lot of events where they bring ex-politicians or ministers or
Wow.
ambassadors to talk. And there are a lot of opportunities which I try to catch and embrace as much as I could. But this one specifically, because he was an ex-president, it was very formal. It was really hard to get into to get a spot because there were many VIPs like from the universities
Mm.
there. So it was actually very, very interesting. And I also had the chance to ask him a question about Cyprus as well, to which he responded
Oh.
very diplomatically. But it was really nice.
Wow, that's incredible. It must have been a fantastic opportunity. And the fact that you're aware of all these opportunities just keep coming away and you take them as well. So I really like the photos as well. They were very cool. It was like, oh, there she goes, the pair of you. It's just like, there they go. So the other for you, Louisa, you also recently been to the Greek embassy in London where you met the ambassador. And
Yeah.
what was that related to?
So I am a member of the KCLs, which is King's College London Diplomacy Society, where they host embassy visits. So all of the embassies are in central London, where our university is at. So we have the opportunity to visit them. And by being a member, I had to do an interview and get accepted into the society. But once you're in, you have the opportunity to go to all these embassies. So I didn't yet manage to post on LinkedIn, but we also went to the Cypriot High Commission. And last week we went to the Australian embassy, which
Oh,
was
wow.
insane. Very larger scale than the Greek and the Cypriot one, obviously.
Really?
Um, yes, so it's very interesting to talk to ambassadors, especially the Greek and the Cypriot one, because I was the only one with the Greek Cypriot point of view. The rest of my peers are like internationals from the Middle East, from Europe, from America.
Okay.
The conversation was very diverse, so it was
Hmm.
a unique experience to listen ambassadors talk about international foreign policy instead of their own national foreign
Yeah,
policy.
yeah, yeah. Oh, wow, fascinating. That's incredible. And you're also holding down a job too, Louise, as same as Marisa,
Yeah.
doing tutorial stuff. So, which then leads me on to the question of cost of living. How, I mean, it's your first, both of you, independence from home, right? So you're managing that. You're having to manage your funds. You're having to maybe not work to support yourselves. How is it a shock? Are you okay?
Um,
Well,
you go.
actually, okay, perfect. I didn't expect Montreal to be so expensive. I thought that Montreal was a fairly cheap city to live in. To be honest, like rent-wise, it's not very expensive. Like you can get a very nice place in a very good location for a very good like monthly rent.
Right.
Um, but everything else is so expensive. Like going out to eat, going anywhere. Like the other day when I went to the movies and I was ready to pay for my ticket and like getting a ticket and getting popcorn, like it struck me so much. It was like $40. So like in euros, this translates to like 32 euros. I was like, to go to the movies and get popcorn? Like, what is this? Anyway, in general, it's a very expensive city to live in. I think like although I'm doing very well, fund management is something that I'm trying to manage a bit better.
Where your math
I
comes in, right?
yeah, I coded a spreadsheet that calculates my expenses because that was the only way it was gonna cut through, and it's getting much better because I track like pretty much everything I spend.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but it was not gonna happen any other way. I don't think that my job is like anything that I don't know contributes significantly to my income or something like that. I mean, I use that money for like personal expenses and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, but in general, it's a very expensive city to live in, and
Right.
it's reminds me a lot of like Cyprus. So when you want to get out of Cyprus, it's really expensive to do so. So if I
Mm.
want to leave Montreal and get a flight,
Mhm.
it's really expensive to do so. It's not
Really?
like Toronto or New York. It's
Yeah.
if you want to leave Montreal, it's
Mm.
more restricted. And I mean, we have a lot of political problems going on now, not in Montreal per se, but
Mm.
more with the current US situation
Yeah.
and the tariffs that are imposed. So it's getting a bit hectic. We keep getting these notifications from like the press, shop local, don't shop American products. I'm like, please tell
Oh,
me what it is. I'm so
wow.
confused.
Oh, wow. What a diversive, is that the right word? It's just a horrible situation to be in, right? Anyway, this is not about politics. This is about you two.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised. So you're feeling that on the ground as
Mhm.
like,
It's very much felt here, especially after this week when
yeah.
the tariffs were officially announced.
Mm-mm.
Everything is getting again even more expensive, and the dollar is depreciating a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean that's good for us because our conversion is like from the euro, so
Mm-mm.
it's better
Yeah.
for us. But
Yeah.
for the people in Montreal, it's getting worse and worse.
Wow. That's I'm amazed that it's actually touching you as university students, but I
It
wondered
is.
it. But wow. Louisa, how's the cost of living? How are you managing the cost of living there?
Okay, I knew that London was going to be a very expensive city to live in. I mean, it's probably one of the most expensive cities in the world.
Mm.
To live in central London, zone one and two, per se, where I live in zone one, and most of the students live in zone one because the universities are in central London, the cost of living here is extremely expensive. Um, to rent here to find a place for some people it's even like unthinkable, so they have to go to outer zones. The halls of residence for students, even though they're more decently priced compared to other locations in the UK, they're probably triple the price in London.
Wow.
Not only that, the thing that makes London more expensive for me is that I have to take the tube to move around.
Okay.
So, I mean, an average day for me would be £6 to £8 with the tube per day. So that adds a lot of cost
Yeah.
to
Wow.
my monthly budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's walkable, but the weather is not always favorable, distances are long,
Mm.
and I usually take the tube to go to classes, which just makes the cost of living higher.
Yeah.
Everything
Wow.
else, like even if you go to a coffee shop, everything is just so expensive. Like it's it's a very expensive city. Like I can't deny that. So you have to be careful, and um, you have to catch those student opportunities that they give you. So the UK has a very good base for like helping students, the student discounts, student offers and stuff. So if you do chase those, I mean, it helps, but it's
Mm.
still a very expensive city to live in.
Do you think it's expensive because it actually is expensive, or because you're not here where mum and dad and you go for coffee and they'd pay for the coffee or they'd pay for lunch? Do you know what I mean? There's like a real disparity between
Yeah.
actually is
Guilty
it
as
expensive,
charged.
or is there not somebody else that would have paid for those things for you?
Yeah, I think with London, it actually is expensive.
Right.
It's undeniable because it's the transport cost, it's the living costs, rent costs are extremely high. Like the housing market is London is insane.
Mhm.
Uh,
I'm
I
sure.
mean, because I can also compare to my friends living and studying in other cities in the UK. I mean,
Right.
we They live
Okay.
in bigger halls with more amenities than me for
Mhm.
half the price. So
Yeah. Fair enough. So yeah, it's a wake-up call, but it is an expensive one as well. So, many Cypriots near you or studying in your university, Marissa, or have you
No,
not at all?
actually, so every year, the International Students Office releases its statistics of like, its international students and where they're from because they want to release like their diversity background and whatever. And there was like Cyprus, and then next to it was one.
Oh
That's
no,
me.
really? That was
There's
you.
no, there's no one else. I have the photo. It's so funny. My mom sent it to me because I didn't follow them, and I was like, "Oh, really? That's me? That's impressive." Because I'm alone, and but there are a lot of people here that are like Middle Eastern, Greek, or like
Right.
even Southern American, which I really like their mentality and their culture, and because they're very open like us. Um, I feel that I've managed to like make friends really easily in that perspective and in that respect. But in terms of Cypriots, I'm all alone.
Do they know
It's
where it
kind of
is
nice
when you
though.
say it? When you say I'm from Cyprus, they're like, where's Cyprus? Or do they know of it?
Okay, so there are three responses. You get the average, what? Where? And then you need to explain and pull out the map and be like, oh, it's an island in the Mediterranean Sea, this and this. And you leave it at that. There are people who know everything about it, and when you tell them I'm from Cyprus, they tell you the northern part or the southern part, and they know everything. They know everything about it.
Oh.
There's no one who's going to ask you this question if they don't know.
Mm-mm.
And then there are like the Americans who are going to say Cyprus, New York, because there's a county in New York, that's called Cyprus,
Oh,
and I was like,
really?
I didn't know that until like somebody brought it up, and I told them, what, New York? No. And they're like, yeah, Cyprus, New York. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
no,
right.
that's not a thing. I mean the country.
Right.
But yeah,
That,
it's a very diverse environment. I feel that it's really good because it's truly a fresh start. Nobody knows you. You don't know anybody. So you kind of start from scratch,
yeah.
which is really nice. I really needed a change. Um, I do miss having a Cypriot community of people who are going to understand my jokes, or if I say something, they're going to relate to it. There are times that, conversation comes up and I just really want to throw something from school in there and nobody's going to get it.
Right.
Um, or like I have photos of my friends on my walls and they're like, "Oh, who is this and who is this?" And I'm like, "Where do I even begin? Like the things I've been through with these people are insane."
Yeah.
I do miss my friends sometimes, especially because I don't have anyone to relate to me here as much as they would. But
Yeah.
it's a really nice change of scenery, in my opinion.
Yeah. Louisa, you're smiling a lot through there. Could you relate to what a lot of what Marissa just said about the Cyprus piece and the friends?
yeah, I mean, I miss my friends too. I understand where she's coming from. I can't relate to Marisa with having no Cypriots around me. I mean, there's so many Cypriots in London. I
Hey.
mean, on an average day, I would hear someone talking Cypriot in the tube, and I wouldn't even know them. Um, but I mean, I think that's because there are a lot of people working here as well, like older people in their 30s, 40s. Um, I mean, when we went to the Cyprus High Commission, they told us there are about 300,000 Cypriots living in London, which is an insane number.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but I mean, London is huge, so they're spread out, obviously. At my course, there are no Cypriots, so it was also like a fresh start. So, like all the friends I've made from my class and my peers and my course are internationals, mostly Europeans and Middle Easterns. Um, but at the university, the whole of the university, there are other Cypriots as well. I think at the whole of King's College London, there are about 30
okay.
Cypriots,
Okay.
which is a low number for a UK university. I mean, at University College London, I think there are more than 100. So, but we're still surrounded by them. I mean, I can't say that I don't feel their presence or that I don't have friends from back in school in Cyprus that live in London. So, I did make a lot of international friends as well, which I'm very grateful for because I wanted to do that. I didn't want to stay with the same friends I had from before. I wanted this fresh start to meet new people. And I think King's gave me the opportunity to do that.
That's really good. Do you think your siblings will follow you to that university based on your initial experience while I'm thinking about it?
Um, I don't think my brother will want to come to the UK to study. I think he's more focused on to going to the US,
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry.
Well, my brother is in the process of getting his Canadian passport, so it's not very much of a choice. He's gonna apply to every Canadian university that there is, just
Well,
because he needs to clock in some years in order to for him to get his Canadian passport.
mm,
But I mean, McGill for me is a legacy school. It was never off the table for anyone because both of my parents, my aunt and my grandmother are alumni of the school.
okay.
So I'm a third generation student, and I'm actually really proud because um, I see how the school has evolved, and ever since my grandma was here and she was doing her own degree, and then my mom came in, and then like I came in. I'm like the third generation of the family to be in this school. So applying to McGill was very high stakes because if I my parents were like, we don't care if you don't get it anywhere else, but you have to go to McGill. And they're like, you need to
Pressure.
get into this school just for the sake of legacy. I'm like, okay, I'll do my best. I'll try.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, even if my brother didn't have to get his Canadian passport and Canada wasn't like a necessity for him to go to study to, I think McGill would be top choice. Because just because of the family like legacy and attachment to the school. I didn't I feel like my parents feel the same way we feel about the English school, about McGill. Because that's the only way I can relate it to, because the way they talk about their school, my parents still wear their McGill hoodies. They have their magnets from college. My grandma's magnets from college are on our fridge. And
Uh,
like I understand how they feel about the school the same way I mean we feel about the English school. Like if I have children and I ever move to Cyprus, they're definitely gonna go to the English school. I mean this is a definite. Um, so I think they feel the same way. And it's really nice to be part of this community because now I don't only feel the same way about the school, I feel the same way about my university as well, which is really important. I feel that I would love my children to come here one day as well.
Amazing. I think your parents studied in England too, didn't they, Louisa?
yeah, they both did. My mom was at LSE, which is actually door to door with King's. I don't think many people know that, but we actually share our lecture rooms. Uh,
Insane.
Didn't know that.
yeah, and my dad studied at Cambridge at St. Catherine's College.
Okay.
So I do have a British citizenship, which is one of the reasons that played a role to me coming to study here as well. I mean, maybe my brother will follow, but because he's very STEM oriented and he's also an athlete, I can see him going to the US probably.
Yeah, they're really heavy into their athletics over there in terms of scholarships and
Yeah.
stuff.
In the
Amazing.
UK, athletics is like non-existent almost.
Really, that's a shame. I
Yeah.
have anyway, the diets, let's not diversify. Okay, what was the biggest surprise to you, Louisa, in terms of starting university and and your study? It was something you just like, oh, I wasn't expecting this.
I think it's the way of studying that I didn't expect.
Oh,
So, like the independence that you have to control of your studying. So, I have classes for 10 hours a week. If you
right.
split that in 5 weekdays, that's 2 hours per day of going to classes, which is very, very little. So the rest of the hours you have to study alone and do all the work alone.
Okay.
So one thing that shocked me, especially the first week, I was like, whoa, I have to do all this on my own now. Like read pages of from books and articles, and they told us that per 1 hour of lectures we have to study for 3 to 5
Okay.
on our own. So I think that was the biggest shock to me because you come from the high school where like everything is spoon fed for you. You have the syllabus, the teachers, extra revision classes, support, help, everything. And then you come here, and the biggest shock was that I have to study alone and add a new place and a new subject and studying in a new way. So I think that was the biggest shock. But a month in, I got the gist of it.
Okay. It's just thinking about everything that you've said there. So you're managing that whole different change of studying for both of you. You're learning to live independently. You're learning to manage your finances. You're trying to make friends and, find different groups in order for where your passion is. Is there emotional mental health support? Because you can imagine people drowning really quickly or becoming really overwhelmed by it. Do your universities offer mental health
Yeah.
support?
Well, McGill is very big on mental health. I think it's one of their main focuses because of the very diverse communities that it hosts. And well, basically because there's everyone here is very diverse and from very different backgrounds, especially socioeconomic backgrounds, because they do offer a lot of need-based scholarships.
Okay.
Um, and everyone is kind of adjusting. And as I said, Montreal is a very expensive city, more expensive than you would think. It's not like I anticipated it being New York or London that are expensive. It was
Yeah.
a bit of an adjustment, but definitely because McGill is very big on that, they have a mental health center and a call line that you can call 24 hours.
Yeah.
They also have like offices that you can visit, and they host like twice a week. They have therapy dogs that you can go pet. I don't need to do that, but I just miss my dog. So
So it's all on
every now
you.
and then I go pet the golden retrievers to get it out of my system. But yeah, I also agree with Louisa on the studying part because you think you have enough time to study, but then you don't because nobody's gonna tell you what to do. And you're like, oh yeah, I just have one class today and then I'm free, but you're actually not. Um, because there's a lot of work to be done, and nobody's gonna tell you you need to do this. If you just don't do it, you're gonna fail the class and nobody cares. You're just a number to them.
Yeah.
Um, and not only that, I mean, here the difference is that because we pick our classes, I don't know who made the sane decision that we are mature enough to be picking our own classes. Because if you see me scrambling like through the course catalog and being like, oh, this seems so interesting, and then I pick it and it's a terrible class, we have like a week at the beginning of each semester to go to our classes and then drop them and
Oh,
take something
okay.
else if we don't. But it's really tricky because some of the classes might not fit into your schedule because of the timing. Some classes might be full, so they don't have space to take you. And then I'm like, who told them that I'm mature enough to be making these decisions? I can't pick my own classes. I was scrambling to choose my A levels. This is an entirely different beast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Welcome to adulthood, hey?
Oh my God, it sucks.
I know. Louisa, how do you feel about the whole balancing act and everything and the emotional support network? Is there any evidence of it there? What happens if you're overwhelmed?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think King's is such big on mental health, but I don't think it's just King's, it's generally the UK mindset of academia. They tend to be more academically focused. So even though they do offer some services, probably I've been to the university for like more than 3 months now, and I haven't seen a lot of like posters and stuff around for that. However, in my accommodation, because it's a student hall of residence, they do promote them a lot here. They bring like therapy dogs as well. They host like once a week, they host like an event for
Yeah.
your well-being. So they either bring like sweets and candy or like um they have music. So they do try to make the environment nicer to live in.
Yeah.
When I do feel overwhelmed, though, I just tell my mom, can you please catch a plane to London and come here? She's coming tomorrow, actually.
Gee, oh, how lucky. A little harder for you, Marissa, I'm guessing, but
And I was gonna say I
nice.
cannot relate. I see my friends who are studying everywhere in Europe. They can interact and travel, and it's very easy to take the train and just go to another country or even city in the UK. Uh and it's much easier for parents to travel to the UK. Um Here not so much. You need about a day to come here and the tickets are really expensive.
Yeah.
Um it's really not feasible. Like it just doesn't happen. I mean, it's very tricky, but it's okay. I mean, this is adulthood. We're
Yeah.
adjusting. It's okay.
You knew that when you made the choice to go there, it's
I,
things that you
it was
compromise.
something I came to terms with long before I came to Montreal because I was like, if I'm ever gonna go that far away, I need to be okay with the fact that I'm not going to be having those visits from my family and I need to deal with it. It's tougher at times, but it's fine because I mean, if our parents could do it when they had no phones and no way to connect, um, we can definitely do it. When I came home for Christmas, my mom was like, "Tell me your news," and I'm like, "What news? I talked to you like 10 minutes before I boarded the plane. I told you everything that happened, and then I called you when I got off the plane, and I told you everything that happened on the flight." And she was
Yeah.
like, "You're so right. Like, I have nothing to tell you." We've been talking for, I talk to my mom for like 5 hours a day whenever I like don't have anything to do. I just have her like on FaceTime and I just have her there. It's just, it's so much easier nowadays.
Yeah.
I remember like Louisa was saying something about taking the tube. I wanted to say that public transport here is terrible. It's terrible and completely unreliable. The buses just never show up. So like I gave up on the bus. If I ever have to take the bus, I walk. But the metro as well is terribly slow. You don't have the metro coming every 2 minutes. It comes every 10 or 15, which is which is really bad.
On a cold
Um,
day, it must be terrible.
yeah, especially because in Montreal it's freezing. Currently, let me check the temperature. Yeah, it's minus 26 outside. And
No.
yeah, I can't. I wanted to show you my view, but I can't because my windows are frozen. And there's
Minus
like ice.
26. Goodness me.
Yeah.
How are you doing in London, Louisa? What is it in London? Can you tell me?
In London right now, I mean, it's not minus.
No.
It's 8. It's fine today. It's really okay. It's been a warm week. I mean, the first week I came back in January was like -2.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I know people used to say in Cyprus, like, because the weather adjustment is harder. I'm finding the weather in London pretty good.
Yeah?
I
That's
mean, I've adjusted to the cold, but
okay.
because I walk a lot, I don't feel it as much. And if you dress well with layers, it's really okay.
Yeah.
London is like the least rainy area of the UK, so I'm lucky about that. I mean, I know that northern and higher up, it's
Mm.
much worse, but
It's just
here
the
it's
rain
really
that's
good.
depressing, isn't it? When it's drizzling rain and it's low
Yeah.
cloud. I mean, I can't imagine Montreal being like that. Certainly not right now.
Mm.
No, actually, Montreal is mostly sunny. I will say that 5 out of 7 days of the week we have the sun.
Amazing.
Um, and then it rains. Well, it doesn't rain anymore, it just snows.
Oh,
But
sorry.
I mean, we're below freezing. It just snows. The
Wow.
other day I wanted to open my window and I was like, am I doing something wrong? Is it locked? No, it was just frozen.
Just
Um, I I couldn't open it. I
wow.
just give up.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
it's sunny, it's gorgeous because what I really like is you really get to see the season changes. I came here in August, it was summer. By October, all the leaves were like orange and like
Cool.
brown. You could see it was fall.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I woke up a day in December, no leaves in sight. And
Wow.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in spring because we don't really
Yeah.
get spring. We get like winter and then it's summer.
It's summer, yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the academic side for a little while. Any advice from your lecturers so far since you started, or has any of them made an impact on you in terms of, I mean, obviously we're only just the first semester in or term in or however you want to call it, but yeah, tell me a little bit about your lecturers.
So I think lecturers for me are different to my seminar leaders. So I have lectures and seminars.
Okay.
My lecturers, I don't even really know. Sometimes they change weekly, sometimes I mean, you don't have no contact with them basically, but the seminar leaders, which is the perspective like teacher assigned for the lecture class, um, you do have a lot of contact with, and it's basically seminars are a class of 10 or 8 people.
Yeah.
So it's really close and it's really familiar. Those seminar leaders, they're basically PhD students. That's how the UK system works. So
Okay.
they're also younger, and I feel more connected to them. One of my seminar leaders in particular for my political theory module, she's been very nice and kind from the start, and I've really like appreciated her advice throughout. I think because she's also international, she relates to first year students. And
Okay.
yeah, I found her classes comforting. Like I would never miss them.
Right. Interesting. It never even occurred to me that you wouldn't have connections with your lecturers because it's nothing like school at all. You're really independent learning
Yeah.
and independent with you. So you really want to be there, don't you? You absolutely, you're not there for just something to do. You actually need to be totally committed to being in the lecture. So, Marisa, what about your lecturers? Is it same sort of thing?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. We have our lectures weekly, and then we also have tutorials or seminars or conferences, whatever you want to call them, where we're also a smaller group, maximum like 20 people, also led by PhD students or late master students, who are specializing in their respective field. I will say that I have a professor this semester who really made an impact on me with one thing he said, which was, I know you may not think that his quote was, I know you may not think it's important right now, but one of my biggest pieces of advice and something I will be teaching you in this class is to invest in your retirement. And I
Oh,
was like, I'm 19.
yeah.
What? And then he explained to us why so many older people in their 60s enter poverty after having a very good life because they didn't account for their retirement when they were young.
Yeah,
And
right.
he was very adamant about he's going to be showing us throughout the semester how to set up a retirement fund when you're very young in order to make sure that you're um fully equipped to go into retirement, which is in like 45 years. It seems so distant, but what he said is it's one of the most important things that you can do because you never know what life is going to bring to you when you're 60, 65, 70, or 80. And he was very adamant about many older people who had a very good life not being able to sustain themselves in retirement because they didn't account for it early on. And that is something that stuck
Oh,
with me because
yeah.
this isn't a very distant future in my eyes, but maybe it's not so distant after all.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating that well, it's great that they're teaching you this young or actually bring it to the fore for you this young. So I know that you're only like we say at the very beginning of your or a third of the way through your first year. In terms of your career trajectory, have you picked the right course?
Um, the first semester I had doubts. Um, I was just surrounded by people that wanted to do completely different things. Like many people in my course want to become diplomats, many of them want to become journalists, many of them. It was just confusing being surrounded by people that had different career paths in their mind. And international relations is a very broad course because we're doing economics, we're doing politics, we're doing diplomacy, history. There's a lot of things that are involved in this course. So, I mean, I do think I'm loving this course and I'm genuinely enjoying what I'm learning. So I think it suits me. So I made the right choice by studying something that suits me, but I'm not entirely sure if after that I wouldn't like diversify into maybe another master or doing something else just to see what it's like.
Yeah, yeah. But so far you're on the right track, you feel.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I'm doing something that I enjoy, that I'm good at, that it's interesting, and that I know that I have the skills for this industry.
Yeah. Amazing. Marissa?
Well, here's where the American system comes in very handy because I wanted to do politics, pure politics, and the US and American system allows you to basically do two majors. So
Right.
I'm also doing economics, which is um on paper a lot stronger than my poli sci degree because in terms of both, one is a lot more like acquired around the world compared to a politics degree, which is what I actually want to do and what I want to pursue. So I'm really lucky and grateful to be doing both because what I want to do after is I essentially want to go into law school. And I'm pretty certain about wanting to do that. And I feel that having both is going to give me a very unique perspective because I feel that the law is really determined on the economics and the politics of a country. So I feel that in terms of like future career and trajectory, the decision I made to do both was really good and really helpful. It also allows me to understand why some things happen in politics because of the economics outlook. And I also understand how politics plays a key role in shaping the economy of a different country, or the world in general. So I feel that this interconnectedness between my degrees is really important, and it's gonna help me definitely further down the line because, like as Louisa said, IR is very, very broad, and politics and economics both fall under IR.
Right.
And I feel that having this broader outlook is
Mm.
really important. I mean, for both of us, because in that way you get to understand why things happen the way they do
Yeah.
and how they impact not only the microscopic peripheral politics type of way, but also how they affect the economy and vice versa.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm enjoying my degree, minus the math and the coding that I ended up somehow doing. Other than that, I mean, even coding, I would never have the chance to do it again
Yeah.
or ever. I would never look into it. It's never something that interests me. So I'm actually kind of happy that I have the skills to code in like R or Python or whatever. I mean, that's so cool. Fine.
You
I'm
know
done.
about it now, right? You know
Yeah,
what you want to do.
I got over my shock. Now I'm like, oh, I have another coding assignment. Let me just, which is good. It's a break from essays and it's also a very good skill to have. I would have never looked into it if I'm being entirely honest.
Yeah.
Not something that interests me and not something particularly enjoyable for me, but
Mm.
it's a very good skill to have.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just glad I'm learning it. I just want it to be over.
Yeah, I can sympathize with you for sure. Okay, Louisa, favorite thing about London so far?
The endless things to do. the
Really, I
endless
suppose there are,
endless
right?
endless areas to explore, endless restaurants to go to. I mean, endless museums and galleries. Like, just it's endless. Like I still haven't seen half of it. Like, it's insane.
Fantastic. And Marissa, favorite thing about Montreal so far?
Well, I was gonna say what Louisa said, so I'm gonna change my answer. Definitely the endless things to do. The city is a metropolis of culture, but the people. Because you would think that the weather here is very discouraging. Like when I saw the minus 26 this morning, I was like, oh, I'm not going out. There's no way I'm leaving my house. But I feel that the people here are so open to trying new things and so adaptable and so positive that they're like, oh, it's just minus 26. I'm going to wear my coat and going to go outside. And that's what they do. I mean, I've seen people wait in queues to get into clubs at like 1 in the morning and it's freezing. It's minus 20 degrees. And you're like, oh, this could never be me. But guess what? It is you. Um, and I mean, last week I went to this really nice festival which they build in the old port, which is my favorite area in the entire city because it's very French. Everything is French and
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. And they basically build an igloo because Montreal has a lot of history with First Nation peoples and stuff like that. And they build an igloo and they host what they call an igloo festival. And you're basically in the igloo and they have like DJs and stuff like that. And I mean, it's freezing, but you're like, I love the mentality that people have that, it's freezing, but I'm gonna wear my ski clothes and my ski goggles and I'm gonna go. And everyone is wearing ski attire and I don't know, it's a very different
Wow.
mindset to what I'm used to back home, for
Yeah.
sure.
So everything we hear about the Canadians that they've been the nicest people on the planet, you can attest that there's some truth in.
That completely checks out. They are the nicest people on the planet. The Quebecois are a little bit mean sometimes.
Okay.
Which is where I am. I'm in Quebec. They're very proud of their French language and heritage. So much so that some of them will not speak to you in English, but I haven't like encountered anyone like that yet. It's just what I'm hearing and a little bit of what I'm sensing from the actual Quebecois who are not in Montreal. Montreal is very international. I would say the people who live in Quebec City, which I went to when I went to ski, are very proud of their Quebecois heritage. And they are a little bit meaner.
Right.
Um, there were these memes going on when Trump wanted to make Canada the 51st state of the US. And they were like, did anyone tell Donald Trump that he needs to go through Quebec? And I was like, oh, okay, so it is true what they do say about the Quebecois. But other than that, I mean, people in Canada and the Canadians, especially in Montreal, they're so nice. And I mean, they're super, super friendly.
Yeah, nice. And London's very international as well and multinational, right, Louise? Are you finding lots of different nationalities or are you seeing a lot of a specific nationality as you're sort of hanging around, not necessarily at school, at uni?
It is very, very international. So international that there's not even so many British people here. There's more internationals than British.
Wow.
I do notice a trend that there are a lot of Arabs in London,
Right. Okay.
and there are a lot of Indians as well, like British Indians. If you know the type, there are lots of them. But generally, like it's so international. There are people from all over the world here.
And it's amazing because it opens you up to new cultures, doesn't it? And new religious, you know, festivals and things like that, all those kind of things that you never saw before. So amazing. Okay, so one more question and then we're going to wrap up with a quick fire round. So my last question would be for students who are currently at school and in grades year 6 at the moment. So they've got one more year to go. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, for sure. That would be that everything will take its course and they shouldn't be stressing so much about where they're gonna go to uni. Because I mean, I applied to Cambridge and I thought that's where I wanted to go. And I was so upset with everything that went down. But I mean, everything, as cliche as it sounds, it's a cliche for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and you are gonna go exactly where you're meant to be. Because I will genuinely say this from the bottom of my heart. I have never been happier to be somewhere ever in my entire life. I've never felt more at home or welcomed or happy to be in a certain environment. And I feel that it's just the city very much adapting to me, and I've adapted to the city. And it's very much close to my mindset. And I feel that the city represents very well what I stand for and what I like to do as a person. And as long as wherever you go with an open mind and you chase the opportunities that come your way, there is no way that you will not have the time of your life. It's very difficult to be away from home. It's very difficult for nothing to be going the way that it's used to because when you're in high school, you have a metric to compare yourself to everyone. So, oh, she got an A, but I got a B, so I must up my game. You're all in very different areas of your life. Everyone is doing something completely different. And it's very stressful to have no metric to compare yourself to somebody else, especially when that's what we've been taught to be doing our entire lives, comparing ourselves to others, which is not something I agree with, but we've all done that. And we all did this up to like year 7. It's very difficult to not have someone to compare yourself to and not have someone to compare in the sense that, oh, they're doing this, so I must be doing that, because everyone is doing something entirely different. And no matter where you end up, as long as you approach it with an open mind, it's gonna be fine. And you're all gonna end up exactly where you need to be. And I mean, there's a path for everyone. And somebody has already, like, I'm very big on fate. Somebody has already written your path, and there's a reason that you're where you are. And you need to embrace it like as much as you possibly can. This is my take.
Reduce stress. Louisa, what do you think?
I would say to like year 6 students right now that the course you will study for your undergraduate degree is really not that important for your course of life. So I would give them this advice that the place, like the city or the country that you go to study to, would matter more than the course you study. So if you know that you like a field, it doesn't matter if it's this course or this course with this or this without this. Like the details of what you actually study don't really matter as long as it's generally something that you like. But I think the experience of being a student and studying at a university gives you so much more than the academia part of it. It's developing your character and its growth. So I think focus more on where do you see yourself living for the next 3 years rather than what do you see yourself studying for the next 3 years. Because whatever you do, you can change your course, you can do a professional qualification, you can do a master's. Like it's not definitive, not at all, your first degree. So maybe focus more on which environment you see yourself in, rather than what you study.
Yeah. Fantastic. I know you were originally looking to study in Europe, Louisa. That would have been a very different lifestyle for you now. I mean, you must think about that, what that would look like compared to what now looks like. Are you happier that you landed where you are based on Marisa's theory that everybody has it?
I did originally. I wanted to go to Bocconi in Milan. It was like my goal, but I didn't get in. But I don't regret being here at all. I feel like I'm in place. Like I'm where I need to be, what Marisa just said.
It's
And
the
just
theory.
everything to me coming to King's was all just very sudden and not at all planned. But I feel very at place here, and I feel like um, it's where I'm meant to be. It's very weird to say this now because in August I wouldn't have said that. Um, but I am probably I'm not for sure like about anything yet, but in the back of my mind I would like to see myself either studying or working in Europe at some point in my life. It's something that I always wanted to do, probably because I also have some family around Europe. And no, it's really easy to travel from London now. And when I visited last month, I was thinking maybe I would want to come here one day as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, that's great, ladies. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick fire round. So I'm going to ask you all 10 questions first, Marisa, and this is all about your expectations, okay? So
We both reply at the same time.
no, I'll do Marisa first and then I'll come to you, Louisa, because I think if you're both answering at the same time, the whole thing's going to get...
Like,
oh, okay.
Okay. Expectations, what your expectations of these questions were, and if they exceeded your experience or below expectations, okay? So met your expectations, exceeded below, right?
Okay.
So the food in your new country, Marisa, better than home?
No, not better than home, just better than what I expected.
Better than what you expect. Okay, good. Thank you for qualifying that one. The weather compared to at home, Marisa. Fair enough. The difficulty of university coursework. Okay, it was harder than you expected. Your ability to cook for yourself.
That exceeded my expectations. Everyone never thought I could do it. It's all good.
Okay, excellent. Good. We'll be looking for cookbooks soon. University cookbook by Marisa.
How to survive 101.
Yeah, there you go. And do spreadsheets with money management, right?
Yep.
Social life and making new friends. Exceeded your expectations? Fantastic. And how much free time you have?
Oh my God.
Oh, really? Lot less than you were expecting.
Especially because I'm double majoring and I'm taking a lot more courses on my peers who are not. It's a bit of an adjustment, but yeah.
Fair enough. Cost of living. I know we covered it briefly.
Like exceeded my expectations. This was out of the world.
And the public transport system, which you've already mentioned, right? Really bad. Nightlife and entertainment options. Queuing at 25 degrees minus. Okay, good.
100% recommend.
And your ability to manage your money and living independently. You exceeded your expectations. You're better at it than you thought you would be. All right. We lost Marisa. Louisa. Okay. Expectations. Now you've got a heads up because you already know where the questions are coming. Okay. The food in London.
Better than I expected.
Really? Excellent. Yeah. Okay. The weather?
Actually better than I expected, yeah.
Fantastic. London will be pleased. Difficulty of university coursework?
Probably like what I expected. Like.
Okay. Your ability to cook for yourself?
I think again what I expected. I know
so you're managing that okay, are you?
It's okay. I don't do like any super master chef meals, but I can cook for myself.
Excellent. Do you entertain? Do you have people come around or anything?
Yeah, I do actually. Because some of my friends do not have kitchens in their halls. They usually come over to cook.
Right. Oh, excellent. Okay. How much free time you had? Expectations?
Probably less than I expected.
Okay. Cost of living?
Worse than I expected.
Public transport. You mentioned the tube. What do you think?
Very controversial. I mean, it's easy to move around. I could say both. I'll say better than I expected.
Okay, good.
It gets time to adjust to the London Underground.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine you to know where you're going and the people and the crowds and the timing and stuff, right?
Yeah. Rush hour.
Nightlife and entertainment.
I think worse than I expected.
Okay, interesting. And your ability to manage money while living independently.
Better than I expected. I'm managing well.
That's excellent. That's really good. Well, I know that your headmaster wants to come and say a quick hello to you
Of
before
course.
Of course, we want to see him.
Yeah, I will. What I might do is I will stop the recording and thank everybody. So I'm not sure everybody wants to say hi to the headmaster. So,
We really do.
yeah, on that note, thank you so much, Louisa and Marisa, and I really appreciate your time today, this morning, this afternoon, and I will hook up with you again in probably about 18 months' time, and we will review where we were at.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us again.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to